All right, we are on a series called Surds. The topic is what is Surd. Now, I want to evaluate the following. Now, in my previous video, I've talked about the rules of Surd. So I want to use the rules of Surd to solve this problem. Let's go to the A part of it. We have 6 root 3 minus 8 root 3. Now, this will be equal to 6 minus 8 in bracket root 3, which is equals to minus 2 root 3. How do I get this? Now, there is a principle in Surd that says when the basis or when what is inside the roots are the same, you can add or subtract. If they are not the same, you cannot add or subtract. That is what I did here. Pick what is in the front, pick one of the roots. That is why I pick one of the roots outside, and what is outside the root, bring it out. Then use the operation, which is subtraction. If it is addition, you add it. Use the operation and work on it. So 6 minus 8. Remember, 8 has the minus sign here. So since it has a minus sign, any answer you get when you subtract, it will come with a negative value. So that is how we get this value. So pick one of the roots, subtract what is in front of the root, and you get your final answer. Now the B part of it, says root 32 plus root 72 minus root 128. Now observe this. These roots are very big. 36, 72, 128. They are large numbers. So what you need to do in the principles of Surd help us to break it down. So you break it to the simplest square roots, to the simplest root you can get, like 2, 3. These roots are simple. 2, 3, 5. At least these ones are simple, or they are you cannot easily break them down. You can't find 2 numbers that will multiply to give you 2, one perfect square and the other one non-perfect. It's very, very difficult, okay, except you want to use 1. So what you need to do is to break 32, break 72, and break this value. Make sure all of them has the same root so that you can able to work on this operations, plus and minus. What I mean is that this implies that find 2 numbers. One is a perfect square and the other one is not a perfect square. If you check very well, 2 numbers that can go to this 32 will be what? 16 and 2. 16 times what? Times 2. 16 times 2 will give you what? 32. Remember, 16 is a factor of 32 and 2 is also a factor of 32. So observe, 2 here is a number that you cannot easily rationalize. You cannot easily find the perfect number. So why 16? You can easily find the perfect number. So you have plus, now 72. What times what will give you 72? What times what will give you 72? Other pattern is since you have gotten these 2, press your 72 divided by the 2. You will have a number 36. So you have 36 times 2 will give you what? 72. Minus, you break this down, this one again. When you divide this by 2, when you divide this, it will give you 64 times what? Times 2. Now observe, in the rules of multiplication under the rules of Surd, the rules, one of them says that if you have a multiplication number here, you can separate the multiplication, you can separate them with their division, with their roots. Now what I mean is that you pick each of them out. 16, root 16 times root 2. Remember, this is 1 root plus root 36 times root 2. This is another root minus root 64 times root 2. This is another root. You separate them this way. Now, observe this. Let's check the perfect squares. This implies that the perfect square of 16, 4 times 4 will give me 16 for root 2. Plus 6 times 6 will give me 36 root 2. Minus 8 times 8 will give me 60. 8 times 8 will give me 64 root 2. Okay, at this junction now, you're able to split it to the lowest root you can get. Now, let us work on this operation, addition and subtraction. Remember in board mass, where addition and subtraction is, you first of all do the addition. So 4, you take it this way. This implies that you bring your 4 plus 6 root 2 minus 8 root 2, which implies that you have 10 root 2 minus 8 minus what? 8 root 2, which will give us 2 root 2 as our what? Final answer. So this is the pattern you use to solve your root. Observe, since addition comes before subtraction, I added this 2, gives me 10, and I now subtracted it from that 8 root 2, and I get 2 root 2 as my final answer. So this is where we end the video. Thank you very much.